There were several really interesting trials that had data presented. The first one was the trial of Sacituzumab, Govitecan, and Pembrolizumab in platinum refractory patients. And the results showed that there was a fairly high rate of diarrhea. Some of it was severe. Generally, as expected, immune-related adverse events from what I could tell. But the response rate was, in my opinion, somewhat disappointing. It wasn't dramatically different than Sacituzumab alone. It was a bit higher than you certainly would expect with Pembrolizumab alone, but a 34% objective response rate doesn't make me feel like there's tremendous advantage to giving both agents together. And so the future of this combination to me is a little bit unclear. I think the data that we're going to be looking for over the next year is the time to event endpoints, and really see if the combination leads to durable remissions in that 1/3 of patients who do get responses, in which case, certainly it might have a role. I think this is markedly different than what we saw with enfortumab vedotin and pembrolizumab. However, the enfortumab vedotin and pembrolizumab data were in untreated patients, not platinum refractory patients. And so I'm sure there would be some difference if the groups were, if the enfortumab vedotin trial was in platinum refractory patients. I suspect that study would not have looked quite as good. The other study that was very interesting was the trastuzumab deruxtecan and nivolumab data. Again, not as robust as I was hoping to see, although I think this is one of the first times we've gotten good data showing responses with HER2-directed therapy with an antibody-drug conjugate. The data with TDM1 was disappointing. So I'm excited by the fact that we may have a whole new avenue of research and potential treatments that will benefit patients with trastuzumab deruxtecan. But the combination with nivolumab didn't necessarily seem like it added a tremendous amount to what I was expecting to see with trastuzumab deruxtecan alone. Although in the absence of a TDXD arm alone, it's very hard to make any firm conclusions. So I think very exciting and interesting preliminary data. The role of immunotherapy in that combination to me remains unproven and unknown, but certainly something that bears watching in the future. And I think that there will probably be multiple trials moving forward looking at HER2-directed antibody-drug conjugates, including RC48, which was developed initially in China and appears to have high antitumor activity, and it's conjugated to MMAE, which is the active cytotoxic for enfortumab vedotin. And so we know that the payload in that drug has activity in urothelial cancer as well. So, I think the outcome of the TDXD nivolumab study was not as explosive as we thought we had hoped, but certainly provides a lot of hope. I think that we're going to see HER2-directed treatments for that subset of patients with advanced urothelial cancer who overexpress HER2. And there's also interest in other types of therapies targeting HER2 mutant patients, although our own work to date hasn't shown dramatic activity of the HER2-targeted TKIs, but there may be better TKIs that are coming down the road that are looking to target HER2 activity.